Have you ever thought about how a single word can change everything? Today, we're diving deep into a word you've probably heard a million times: righteousness. We're going to see how its original, powerful meaning kind of got lost in translation, and more importantly, how finding it again can totally unlock the way we read some of the most foundational texts out there. So, let's start with the problem. The biblical scholar N.T. Wright puts it perfectly here. When you hear that word righteousness, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Come on, be honest. For a lot of us, it's not a great feeling. It sounds kind of stuffy, right? A little judgmental, maybe a bit holier than thou. As Wright says, it's become a proud, churchy sort of word. And that is a huge problem when it's supposed to be one of the most important ideas in the entire New Testament. So that's the big question, isn't it? If our modern idea of the word is all twisted, what did it actually mean to the people who first wrote this stuff down? To figure that out, we've got to do a little time traveling and go back to the original Greek. And that brings us to this word, dikaiosune. This is the Greek word that we usually translate as righteousness. Now, N.T. Wright has this brilliant way of thinking about it. He says that dikaiosune is like a giant cargo ship. It's loaded down with all these different heavy, important meanings. But our one little English word, righteousness, is like trying to carry all that cargo in a tiny little box. It's not going to work. The only way to really get what it means is to open up the ship and unpack all the different cargo inside. So, that's what we're going to do. Let's open up the cargo hold of dikaiosune and see what we find. Turns out there are three main things in there that are absolutely key to understanding the whole story. Okay, so here are the three big pieces of cargo. First, there's justice. Second, covenant faithfulness. And third, right standing. Now, I know what you're thinking. Those sound like three totally different ideas. But for the original writers, no, they were all woven together, all part of this one massive concept. Let's break them down one by one. First up, justice. And get this is not about one person being a good, moral individual. Not at all. This is about God's plan to fix the entire world. It's about cosmic-level restoration, about putting everything back the way it was supposed to be. So when the Bible talks about God's dikaiosune, a lot of the time it's talking about this huge, world-saving justice. And this idea of cosmic justice is built on the second piece of cargo: covenant faithfulness. This is all about God's character. It's the idea that God is loyal, that He keeps His promises, that He's faithful to the agreements, the covenants He made with His people. It's this deep relational idea about God's reliability all through history. And that leads us right to the third piece of cargo: right standing. You can think of this as the result of the first two. Because God is a God of justice, and because He is faithful, people can be put into a right relationship with Him. The best way to picture it is a courtroom. When God declares someone has dikaiosune, it's like a judge banging the gavel and saying, "You are in the right with me, case closed." Okay, so that's all the theory. But what happens when we actually apply this to the text? This is where it gets really mind-blowing. Let's look at what happens when a translator like N.T. Wright actually chooses which piece of cargo fits best in a specific verse. Just look at the difference this makes. In Romans 4, the kind of vague "for righteousness" suddenly becomes super clear, that he was in the right. There's that courtroom verdict we talked about. Then look at Romans 10. The righteousness of God becomes God's covenant faithfulness. Suddenly the focus is squarely on God's loyalty. And in Romans 14, that famous phrase becomes justice, peace, and joy, tying it right back to God's big plan to fix the world. See how the meaning just pops depending on which piece of cargo is needed for that spot? So you might be thinking, okay, cool, it's a word puzzle. But is that all this is? No way. This matters a lot. Because when you understand this one word correctly, the whole focus can shift from just trying to be a good person to being part of this huge cosmic mission. And what this all shows us is that translation isn't just about finding a word in one language and swapping it for another. Sometimes it's really about being a detective. It's about recovering the original, powerful story that the authors were trying to tell. A story that got kind of flattened out and misunderstood over time. So, let's just wrap this all up. What's the bottom line? First, righteousness, this dikaiosune, is way more about what God is doing in the world than it is about our personal moral scorecard. Second, it means that personal faith isn't just a private thing. It's deeply connected to God's bigger mission of justice for everyone and everything. It changes the main question from how can I be a good person to how do I get in on what God is faithfully doing to heal the world?
Honestly, getting this one word right can change the way you read the whole New Testament. And that just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If unpacking this one single word can so radically change our understanding of the whole story, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What else might we be missing in the text we think we know so well?